workers, which I love. Man, making games is fucking tough.
You know
what? I think first of all, I would say that fuck New York is valid at a certain point, because I think a lot of the romanticism about New York just isn't valid anymore. Like the idea of what New York was cool about, it doesn't exist anymore. It's just kind of gone. So to be honest, like whatever for New York.
I got lost in
like
New York like 2 times, and it was not fun. It's like fucking.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've, like, ever, like, been in a place, like, in a city where it's like, I don't know where I am, but in New York, it's, like, extra terrifying.
Yeah. So,
Toronto's kind of like, Toronto's not scary, it's just really big and ugly, and not for a city as big as it is, there's actually not that much to do. And it's just really, like, winding.
Montreal's a really cool place. It's really
Montreal's
chill.
Rad.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
rad.
Montreal.
I like it too. It's rad and it's chill
and it's affordable.
And it's kind of
safe.
It's kind of artsy in a lot of sections too. Like there's a lot of that stuff.
Zolani,
really diverse.
You brought up something about like the romanticization of New York and something like that, and as an American, there's something specific. As
an American,
there's something I'd broadly like to complain about,
as
which
a
is
red, white, and blue-blooded pure American who loves his country.
The sad part about that is that like 90% of that is like something I might actually say. But
hey, you know what? If it works for you.
Yeah, this is a topic for another time, but like how I identify with being American is this weird thing. Like I have this weird.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have like a fucking enormous, long story about it.
Yeah, the short version of it is I identify very strongly with it, and in a way that a lot of other people, like for political reasons, just don't want to. And it's just like, well, it's kind of part of who I am, so I can't really,
I've lived like all of my life here. Like I can't really just be like, hey, fuck America, because I'm living in America and making video games, so I'm cool. I will say that we have a lot of things that are very wrong. And they definitely need to be fixed, and I feel like a lot of that is going to be talking about those issues, because otherwise people aren't going to be aware of them.
I don't know, like at this point, I don't know if it says like there are things about America that are wrong as much as America itself is just completely...
I want you to know that I gave that entire speech like half a piece of pizza in my mouth.
Yo!
America itself is just like in an utter state of catastrophe and chaos.
I completely agree. And I think the thing...
Yeah.
Sorry, I think.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Lana. Go ahead, Lana.
I hate to be that person.
Yeah.
But Zolani said there are only like a few significant differences between Canadians and Americans culturally.
Yeah.
Okay, I basically generally agree with you, but those few differences are really important.
They're really important.
Because
your conservatives believe in free healthcare.
One, I actually say they kind of wouldn't. In fact, I'd say that Canadians conservatives are actually a lot more effective than conservatives in America. They're effective politically, and they're actually a lot more dangerous. They're way
better at. Here's what our conservatives are kind of, because they're not very theatrical, and they're much better at being opaque about their sort of internal behavior.
Yeah.
So they can sort of pass things sort of under people's noses and not have a lot of spotlight on what they're doing. So there's not a lot of countrywide discourse that gets a lot of media attention, and it's very insidious actually.
And a lot of the stuff they do pass is actually stuff that's very it's really instructive. When I look at Republicans, I don't really see too much of the kind of.
Because they're basically self-sabotaging.
But conservatives have really dismantled a lot of very vital institutions to the country for the past 5-10 years or so. In the term that we've had a minority conservative government, they've done so much to undermine things that Canadians, if you really go survey and ask Canadians, would consider sacred.
Mm-hmm.
But they've managed to do it in a way that no one's really kind of paying attention.
Oh, I hate that shit.
Yeah. That's what happened.
Widespread.
Forgive me if it feels like I'm canonizing FDR or whatever, but every good thing that FDR ever managed to accomplish that was good for working people in this country is completely gone now, and it's because in the 80s the Republicans did the exact same shit.
You know what the word is to that, huh?
What?
Neoliberalism. Stars and sparkles.
There's a really good crash course history about Ronald Reagan, like the Reagan Revolution. That I've watched, like, all I did today was watch Crash Course and eat soup.
Living the life.
Well, it's all about choices. That's the choice I made.
Truly.
There's this really, really good video about, like, Reagan as, like, the figurehead of neoliberal change and, like, uninvestment in social services in America and reinvestment towards military budget. And,
don't even get me started. Yeah.
Supply-side economics, like, the introduction of supply-side economics and the slashing of taxation of, like, higher bracket income earners from, like, 70% to, like, 23%.
Yeah, and here's actually just I'm sorry, just let me say this, which is that
I'm doing terrible in F-Zero right now. I just want to say that, and I'm really disappointed in myself, and I'm just like,
I'm terrible at F-Zero, which I've been playing since the entire stream started.
Like like the thing about the really awful thing about that is, like, I used to be an economics major. I might have.
Man, I kind of want to be an economics major, to be honest.
I might have dropped it too early because I started going through a lot of bad stuff in my life, like, and it was just like, it's a really challenging area, you know, and I'm like, I'm not naturally inclined towards scientific thought, I'll say, you know. I just, you know, I'm generally more an artsy person than a scientific person, but I was really interested in economics because this was immediately after, you know, the huge economic crash here in America, and well, it affected everyone in the world, but, you know, so anyway, but the thing about it is, like, and the thing that I learned almost immediately upon taking high school economics classes and such was that basically everything that conservatives trumpet as, like, sound economics as compared to, like, the, you know, godless communism of what Democrats are trying to do is, like, even capitalist economists, you know, like people like Paul Krugman or whatever, are just laughing their asses off at, like, what conservatives call, you know, like, 101 economics, because, like, conservatives will talk about, like, people not understanding, like, for example, the supply and demand curve, and the truth is that they don't understand it. They don't
they straight up don't get it.
Yeah, they don't understand how it's, like, how the supply and demand curves are, like, for example, perversely affected, you know, by, for example, the amount of tax burden that we have on the poor compared to the rich, for example. It's just, you know, their economic policies are harmful to economics in a way that's, like, that is just, you know, and their understanding of even just capitalist economics is so far behind. Like, I mean, Keynesianism is still something we debate in the United States, and the general consensus of economists agreed that, like, Keynes is a fucking hero, like, 30 years ago, at least, you know. Like, there was, like, in terms of, like, the actual field of economics, of capitalist economics, there was, like, serious debate about the legitimacy of Keynes's ideas for maybe 20 years. And then by at least the 60s or something, like, he was widely accepted as canonical, to put a simple word to it.
I just want to make a really arbitrary clarification. When you say capitalist economics, I think you mean neoclassical economics.
Yes.
Which tends to be capitalist economics in a sense. Neoclassical economics is the kind of economics that tends to be touted as capitalist. It's mostly interested in it is capitalist realist in the sense that it pre-assumes certain understandings of what a capitalist society should be. That businesses should be free. And the thing about neoclassical economics too is that it likes to think of itself as apolitical, but it really is actually utopianist. It aspires towards this sort of weird, like, free market utopia of a capitalist world. It really does, and a lot of its own science is actually trying to sort of perfect this system of this idea of a perfect market in which everything runs so smoothly and so much to the point, where there is perfect, just supply and demand to become perfect. where
Keynes,
demand, where import-export becomes perfect, you know, like those kinds of things.
That is the entire idea of Keynesian economics.
So I guess like neoclassical economics are the people who will say that they'll use the term like crony capitalism, which doesn't make any sense because crony capitalists are just capitalists, right?
Yeah.
It's not like there is no like immoral capitalism. That's just the way the system's supposed to work.
Yeah,
right?
there's no like separate labels for it.
No.
Yeah. So
I mean,
there's a lot of that.
Kind of, it's like presuming first an invisible hand with like no relationship to like government infrastructures that allow these things to occur in the first place.
Oh, and by the way, there's like in terms of like economic like academia right now, there's serious doubt about the existence of the invisible hand. You know,
well, it's not invisible. It's clearly a matter of like different intersecting socioeconomic dynamics that are actually like it's not magic. It's like something you can study.
Well, I mean, you know
what?
I've been really interested.
It's identifiable stuff.
I've been really interested lately.
John Smith didn't know how to study it.
We're talking about in economic academia of this weird discussion going on where economics is suddenly starting to reflect and own this like and understand this idea of a quote unquote of a moral economics. But it's basically the idea that economics for a long time has really just been this weird justification for capitalist economies, and it's never been able to really be something that can actually push against that ideology. It always just preassumes them as rational. A lot of the things that are presumed is just basic economic theory, like textbook economic theory. A lot of it, some of it is actually a lot of fallacies. A lot of them are just capitalist fallacies.
It is.
You know, and so that is actually the discussion that's going on. They're actually sort of important to me because it's this idea of a study that I think has a lot of potential. But for a long time it has been constrained to a very specific kind of mode that for a long time it hasn't been able to get out of. And this means that you get people like Marxists and such. Oh, what? What's going on?
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm like tweeting about it on Twitter. I'm like, nothing says Dragon Quest like political discussion.
Yeah.
Hey, we were talking about that earlier.
Also, Zolani, you have this amazing capacity to just follow through with a thought for like one really long, unbroken sentence.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
You know what? I've been doing podcasts lately, and here's what I noticed. Is that I'll say something, and then I'll stop, and there's just silence for like 2 or 3 seconds. And I'm like, oh no, I did something wrong. Like,
it's okay. It's okay to like embrace the silence. Silence.
Here's the other thing.
Good. The silence gives you like a second to think, and that's
I mean in the sense that I'll say something for I guess kind of a long time or a little bit of a long time, and then after I stop talking, there's silence, as if like no one knows what to say, and I'm just like, oh no, like did I just like freak
out? The thing here is that we don't have to worry about that because we have Dragon Quest to fall back on if we ever get bored.
Yeah, exactly. We can just talk about how dumb this fucking game is. I still have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
We don't know what the fuck is going on in this game because it's been like 4 hours.
Honestly, at this point, like I found the princess, and I think at this point I'm just grinding to try and like free the princess, and I just like I found one of the hero items that I need to find, but I literally can't find any other dungeons on the world map for me to go explore. You know, it's just.
What are you supposed to do in Dragon Quest? No, I'm serious here.
No, you got a great
goal here. Like, what is?
It's great that you bring that up because another thing I was noting about like this game is very non-linear. Like for example, I just found the princess. Like the game did not like, oh, we know where the princess is. You should go here and find the princess. Like it's just like, not that there's anything wrong with that, obviously, but it's just like it's just like I just found her and like she's being guarded by a dragon that I don't know how to beat. But like, rather I need to grind harder to beat because that's literally the only thing you can do in this game is that if you can't beat an enemy, you have to grind. Dragon Quest, yeah.
I think I heard some echo. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to what you were saying, the other thing
when you were talking about, can I just?
Wow, that's echoey.
Can we get that echo fixed?
Whoa!
I don't know where that's coming from, but
I'm not hearing that.
I don't know. I don't think it's me. Let me check. Does anyone have any tabs open?
I don't.
Any stream tabs open with volume on? Anna, anyone else?
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
No, it's muted.
There you go. Okay. It's muted for me too. Let me check.
What?
Have you tried marrying the dragon?
Have I tried marrying the dragon?
It's important.
Kiss the dragon.
Hey, I don't smoke pot. Is that a metaphor for smoking pot?
I was about
you know what? Give me like 8 seconds to catch up because the stream is behind.
Yeah.
Oh, well, here's a building that I haven't explored before. Maybe it'll have something useful.
A building, yeah. I think the stream is actually slow.